Okay. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for downloading the show. Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. It's me, Eric. It's Eclectic DIY. Today, my good friend Rick is here. We're going to talk about Wi-Fi nodes and his airplane getting a flat tire. So stick around for that. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, my friend. It's been a good while. Actually, it has not been a good while. We talk fairly often, and we've tried this podcast twice before, and or at least once before, and Squadcast keeps screwing it up for us, and then you couldn't publish it because it sounded so bad. And so we think we've worked out a system here, and we're going to try it. You folks are all the guinea pigs.
Yeah. I did do a show with my sister, and I recorded the whole thing on my iPhone, and it didn't sound too bad.
No. You got to have some good quality in your technology, in the audio of it. But content's important, and she is delightful. She's really great to hear.
She's great.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Waffle House was great.
Yeah, I can't believe she's related to you.
Thank you. All right, real quick, we're going to talk about. Sorry.
What do we got to talk about here? We're going to talk about your Wi-Fi node and mesh node.
Right. I want to talk about colonoscopies for a minute, and you can click past this part if you want.
That's our shtick, isn't it? Yeah, well, that's our thing. We do colonoscopies. We're going to be the colonoscopy guys.
Well, I think they're important. My family has a history of polyps. So anyway, there's a podcast called TBD, which is done by Slate, and I listen to it. I listen to every show of theirs, and I think they're really, really good. They just did a really good show on the state of electric vehicles in the United States, and they hit all the right points. I'm like, wow, this is exactly what's happening. They went out and interviewed actual EV car owners and stuff. But a little while ago, they had a show about why are more young people getting cancer, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. And the podcast host reporter has the Slate science reporter on in the opening of the show, and the first question is essentially, what's a colonoscopy like? And they go on for about 7 minutes about how colonoscopies are icky and they're going to avoid them at all costs. And yet neither one of them has had a colonoscopy.
Oh, gee.
And I think they're good people. I just think you're just giving people agency to say, oh, no, I don't want to get that colonoscopy, when it could save your life.
It's true. That's true. And, it's happening in my life right now, not personally or my wife, she who must be obeyed, but a good friend of ours has been putting it off for more than 10 years, and he's put it off much too long now, and so it is not looking good for him, and it could have been caught early.
I mean, I'm going to sum it up. You have to drink this liquid. You're going to have a very beautiful cleanse, okay?
People then pay for that.
Yeah, they pay, Gwyneth Paltrow sells this stuff, I don't know that's for sure. Okay, so don't sue me, Gwyneth Paltrow. But it's a similar thing. And then you're going to go to the doctor's office. I go to this place that's just gastroenterology procedures, usually very comfortable. You're going to take the nicest nap you've ever had. You're going to wake up, and someone's going to come over and give you some apple juice, and it's going to be the best apple juice you've ever had in your life. And then you go home, and you might be a little woozy. I don't do well with anesthesia, so I mentioned to the anesthesiologist, who's another doctor or nurse practitioner, I said, I always feel a little nauseous after this. And he said, oh, I'll just put a little blah, blah, blah in the mix. And then I felt fine afterward. And it's just little things like that if you feel nauseous afterward, maybe you're going to tell your friends, oh, it's horrible, I didn't like it. It can save your life. Well, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it can. I actually go the other way. There's always a TV screen, what's going on the scope. And because it's really all video now. Nobody looks through a little microscope thing anymore, and so you can see the screen. And I said, go light on the anesthesia, because I enjoy watching. I want to know what's going on. I want to see what's happening, and it's fascinating to me to know what's going on. Recently Adam Savage did a test of the one you swallow on tested. You remember Adam Savage from MythBusters?
Yes.
Yeah. And this one, actually, it's more than, it was different from the one I had. I had a test one several years ago we talked about on the show. That's the reason I said we were always talking about this. But his actually had a way of kind of swimming, and it could reorient itself, turn itself around and go up and down, look around a little bit. And he was actually had the controller in his hand, and he was playing with it, driving it around his intestines to look at this, look at that, and whatnot. And then in the end, it was only a $35 device they created, and they just flushed it away when they were finished with it.
So that could go to emerging, I don't know if the word is emerging, countries that don't have great health care. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wow.
So, all right. But anyway, go get one. Boy, the misery you can save by just doing that once every. It's gotten better. When I first started getting them, it was once every 5 years, and now they're saying once every 10 years. And
I have them every 5 years because I have polyps in my family.
Okay.
But anyway, I do like to TBD podcast and people. I just think it became more kind of a buddy podcast, which is like what we do, and yet they are reporters. So I just felt they kind of stepped over a line there and gave people. I think it gave people the idea that they didn't have to get one because it was icky, and the reporter said, avoid it.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about my Wi-Fi.
Your Wi-Fi. What has happened now? I mean, it's always something, isn't it?
No, it's not. Oh. I have a mesh Wi-Fi network in our apartment, and the beauty of that is you have a central node, like a central transmitter that's plugged into your cable modem or your Verizon modem or whatever it is.
Right.
And then you have multiple other nodes that essentially repeat the signal or make the signal available to a wider area. And you can do that by just location, because the daughter node, I think it's called, or something, basically picks up from the main one and then sends it farther. Or you can connect them by Ethernet cable, which is what I did. If you can get into your basement, run some cable or into the walls, and it works really well. But one of the nodes just wouldn't work. It had like a purple light. And I went online, and of course I did a deep dive into how to fix this. And the simple reset button, where you just press in the little button and have it redo it, that wouldn't work. And then it said the how-to on the site of the company that made the Wi-Fi nodes said, well, use an IP scanner and then log into that node. And I'm like, I just don't know how to do this. I don't want to go on YouTube and learn how to do this. So I went on to eBay and typed in the node and the brand name, and I wrote refurbished, and some refurbished ones came up, and they were like auction based. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wait for an auction. So I went to Amazon. Amazon has a refurbished whole section, and I typed in the node, and I could buy it for like $18.
Oh, wow.
And I got it, and it took a couple days, which is fine. It came in a brown box, but it didn't look like it was beat up or used. It looked like it was brand new from the factory. The wrapping was still around the power cord.
Oh, yeah, that's a good sign.
And I figure I'm worth about $25 an hour. So if I can spend $18 and get the node, I'm not going to tunnel into it with the IP scanner,
Right. I would have thought about just doing a full reset on that node, and usually there's you turn it on, hold a button, and then push a tiny pin into click a tiny switch, and
that didn't work.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Well, then it's toast. Don't worry about it. For this kind of money, you buy your way out of it. I'm always telling my wife, so your time is worth something, and she's involved now with lots of women's groups and stuff, and it's something she didn't get to do when she was in the Navy very much, and so she's really enjoying having lots of friends, doing lots of things, and that means preparing foods to take to meetings and that kind of thing. I said, honey, never hesitate to buy your way out of something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Go buy a tray of cookies.
Yeah, exactly. It's it doesn't quite have that homemade feel, but to spend hours working on something for a group and mostly the attraction is the chit chat and the talk and the community that she's forming. Buy something. Don't spend all day the day before in the kitchen slaving over something like that.
So part of my family is Italian. I'm not Italian, but my in-law, part of my family is Italian, and they're out in New Jersey now. And when I go out there, I stop at this well-known Italian bakery that's nearby here, and I fill up a little box. And the last time I filled that box up, I was like, "Oh, I'll get the cannolis and get these and get the black and white cookies." And it was $75.
Well, to be in with good with the in-laws, it's worth the money.
It was.
You don't want them turning against you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the favorite cousin because I show up with these things.
That's terrific.
Not sure you guys know this, but Nicole, podcast co-host Nicole, is an author and a very accomplished photographer. And she has a book out called Tilting, a Memoir. And I'll read a paragraph describing it now to you. We only learned about our father's girlfriend after he became deathly ill and lay in a coma 120 miles from our home. Overhearing the nurse tell Linda, since I was 9, I'd called my mom by her first name, about the girlfriend who came in almost every day to visit him when we weren't there, confirmed that the last moment of normal had passed us by without our realizing it. Up to then, our family had unhappily coexisted, with Dad flying jumbo jets to Asia while we lived in Montana. We finally came together to see Dad through his illness, but he was once again absent from a major family event, unable to join us from his comatose state. This is the moment when our normal existence tilted. How cool is that, huh? I couldn't write a book, and I think she's working on another one. There will be a link in the show notes here. You can also just type into Amazon Nicole, Nicole, Harkin, Harkin, author or book, and this will come up. I mean, I don't get the affiliate link, but that's okay, So, how is the airplane, sir? Why don't we start with maybe people don't even know that you have an airplane?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been busy doing. I've had a pilot's license since about 73, I think. And I flew a lot in the beginning. Then we got into sailboats because that was a lot cheaper than flying. And I said, well, I really want to fly again. So I bought an airplane. And it's a very small 2-place airplane. It's 100 horsepower. It's called a Bushcat. You can look them up online. If you go to YouTube, I have a small YouTube presence I've staked out, and it's called the Swamp Cat. And I called it that because we actually have it hangered about an hour south of the house here on the Great Dismal Swamp, which is a fascinating and terrifying place. There's an enormous lake in the center of it called Lake Drummond. I call it Snake Lake. It's if you crash land around there, the chances of surviving seem to me to be pretty slim. So I've been flying around, and She Must Be Obeyed's been going with me, and we went up to we do these things that, in the flying business they call it the $100 hamburger, and so we took off one day and ran up to Williamsburg and Jamestown, and most of the airports have what they call a crew car you can borrow for nothing, and
yes.
And we'll take the crew car into Williamsburg, and we went and had ice cream, and we had a hamburger, and a $100 hamburger, and then came home late in the afternoon. Yesterday, I said, well, let's go down to Manteo. Manteo's an island on the Outer Banks. It's actually near Nag's Head. And it's a beautiful, picturesque place, and the approach over the sound, I think it's Albemarle Sound, is just fantastic. And so we went down there and had a good time. Just looked around, borrowed the crew car again, looked around a little bit, and on the way back, nothing happened. We flew. It's had a great time looking at the water and the surf, and we could see we saw one whale just offshore.
Nice.
That kind of thing. And we landed at my little airport, and fortunately it's a grass strip, and so we didn't have anything like lights along the edge of the runway to hit or whatever. And when I landed, my left wheel, left landing gear, it's a tricycle, so it's two mains and then one in the front. It was flat. It was round on top, but boy, it was flat on the bottom. And
yeah.
And I didn't realize how much you lose control. I've never had an airplane do that before, so I didn't know. And this airport's very narrow. You can look it up online. VG37. It's called Umflet, and it's like you feel like a marble in a funnel. Tall pine trees on both sides of the runway, and you hit that landing strip, and it's actually kind of good because the trees will break the wind east and west if there's any kind of wind coming through. But fortunately, I landed long. I can land at about 500 feet or so, and I landed long so I wouldn't have to taxi so far back to the hangar. And just where I touched down is where the field opens up, and the trees on the left side drop away, which is the side I had trouble on, and it's just a mowed field kind of. And so I landed, and we hooked a hard left into that field, and kind of skidded to a halt. If I'd landed earlier, I'd probably been in the trees, and that would have been a lot of problems. And so
that might have bent some of the frame.
Yeah, bent the prop, stopped the engine. Those kind of things are not good. And so this time it just wheel went flat. I probably picked something up when we left Manteo, so the only thing we can think of. And so, people were around the airport, and they all come running out to help. And first thing you do is lift up the plane. It's very light. I mean, it's only empty. It's only 700 pounds or so, 750 pounds. And so you lift the plane up by the wheel on the wings, 3 or 4 people. They got some blocks under the landing gear. And then took the wheel off, and somebody ran it into one of the hangars and brought it back with a new inner tube. And
oh, nice.
We slapped it on and taxied back to the hangar, and so nothing really happened. But it was an exciting time. It's just one of those things you don't quite expect happening, but it just it's kind of like a car wreck. You don't ever expect to be in one, and then just all of a sudden, whammo. But we were all, it wouldn't have actually hurt us because, there's a roll cage around the cockpit, and we both had full harnesses on, 2 shoulder straps and a belt. And I was landing at about 55 miles an hour. And so, the wings would have absorbed a lot of the energy. It was very, very slow kind of landing. So everything worked out, but it was just a little jarring. But be back on the horse pretty soon to go out and go somewhere else. We're planning a fall colors tour of the Shenandoah Valley area, and we'll fly up there. There's at least one train that does you could ride for 2 or 3 hours one way and back. To see fall colors. We'll fly over some of them. I'm having a wonderful time. It's not so much going places for me. It's the actual skill of flying.
Yes.
The coordination of hand, feet, and eyes. Somebody said flying is the artful. How does that go? It's the artful use, that's wrong, but it's the artful application of scientific principles. And so there's a good deal of art in the science of flying, and I love that part.
If from your videos you can see the setup you have, because you have an iPad there as well as other dials and things, and I think that's really cool how it's just this little when I first got an iPad, I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? And now I carry it everywhere.
Oh yeah, Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah, there's a program called ForeFlight that a lot of pilots use, probably most pilots use. And it has all the charts on it, all the frequencies. You can plot on it, and so really it's just a matter all the really difficult stuff of managing the cockpit, having charts and flipping them over and drawing lines on them and all of that. That's pretty much gone. And of course now the weather briefings are so good. I think if there's one thing I have just been totally amazed by in this world, it's how much weather prediction and people like to complain about it all the time, but it has improved so much. I can remember Hurricane Dora. I think I've mentioned this in the show, so I won't talk much about it, but in the past. But Hurricane Dora coming ashore at Galveston, and it surprised everyone, but it was the first time you could see a hurricane on radar, and there weren't weather satellites or anything up at that time. And we come to the point now where they have 10, 15-day forecasts that are reasonably accurate. It's just amazing. And so that part of flying is pretty easy. When I brought the plane back, I got it in Illinois, and it was probably April, I think. And there were lots of storm systems and whatnot, and I wanted to fly out there, not spend too much time in Illinois on the ground waiting. And so I timed the fronts, looking at the 500 millibar charts and all of that, and timed the fronts so that I got on Southwest, flew there, and the next day I was in the airplane. We did some checkouts and whatnot, and then I flew it back over the next 2 days. And I just, I found that weather window that I could see coming several days in advance. So I love weather. And I love the new weather prediction systems. It's so much better than it used to be.
If you want to get raw satellite data, Gabe at the Save It for Parts YouTube channel, he's all of a sudden kind of blossomed. we had a private conversation, and he said, I have so many videos that failed or didn't work out. I can't post them. I said, yeah, you can. I said, just post them. And so I didn't change his life, but I just gave him a suggestion. And he has built various satellite dishes to download, or just firstly find satellites that are up there, geostationary ones and moving ones. And he can aim toward the weather satellites, the American weather satellites, and he will download a picture of North America with the cloud cover, or sometime could he download video, I think, as well?
Probably now.
So very, very cool. So you can build a satellite antenna or go buy one and point it up into the air and download weather data. And it's because we're paying for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think we're paying for it.
All these different companies are all using one source of data, the National Weather Service, for all the everything they get. I remember, I'm going to date myself now, back in the 90s when I was on Guam. And I was a ham radio operator, November Hotel 2 Foxtrot is my call sign. And we would take turns on Guam pointing it at the amateur radio satellite as it went over. And you remember bulletin boards, don't you? The Well and all those different bulletin boards where you would dial in.
Right, the online bulletin boards, message boards.
Yeah, you would dial in and pick up your messages, and then you'd hang up, you'd answer the messages, you dial in again, upload them, and then Well, we were doing the same thing with satellite in the 90s from AMSAT, because there was no internet back then, or not internationally, that you could use. And so that was so much fun. We took turns doing it. We had a rotation once a week. One of the other amateurs would upload it or go get it, and then upload our material. And we had a local bulletin board you dial into to pick up your contacts and information. It was a lot of fun back then. Ham radio back then really kind of had more of a purpose, I think, than it does now.
Yep.
Yeah, we ran a net called the Pacific Inter-Island Net, and I anchored it for several years. And we would just check in with all the island groups in the Pacific, because there was no international, there were no satellite telephones, there were no dishes or anything, and people were always needing a call for an air ambulance. We had a couple of people shipwreck on reefs that got in contact with us, and we'd send people out to go help them, that kind of thing. And that was cool. Really fun to do. Now and then. Everybody got satellite dishes. MTV came to all the islands, and they have satellite telephones now. And it seems like every island's just like every other island. So, anyway,
sorry.
No, that's all right.
One more thought before Rick and I finish the show and go on to the after show. Consider buying I'll link to one in the show notes here, but a tire plug repair kit.
Yes,
I've got one in both cars. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube about how to use them. They're like $20. I don't know if that would help you, Rick, with a airplane tire, but if you get a flat and you're in the middle of nowhere, or you can plug your tire, and if you have a little compressor, you can fill it up, or you can limp it over to the gas station and fill it up.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, I have those in our car, but these are tube tires, and so that you really can't plug them like that.
All right.
Yeah, I purposely put tubes in all the tires because it gives you a little extra margin. Plus, you can peel the outer tire off and a little bit, get the tube out, put a new one on. You can do that in the field. It's kind of field repairable like that. But I do carry a can of flat fix and a Schrader valve tool to pull the tube out, or pull the core out, and then
pull the valve out. The bike valve out,
and get it that way. So and then a small. That's another thing that's amazing. I have an air pump. It's battery powered, and it's maybe 8 inches tall and 4 inches wide and 2 inches thick. And most of the time, when I have a low tire or something, I can get my tire up using just that little battery powered pump that I carry in the plane. It's so cool, some of the things they're doing now. Speaking of Gabe and his
save it for parts.
Yep, save it for parts and getting stuff up on the internet. Never hesitate to put all your projects up on the internet that you have. It has become YouTube has become the source for all the DIY projects I do. We had a switch in the pull cord in ceiling fan switch go bad, motor controller, and the switch I bought as a replacement looks nothing like the switch that's in there because it's a very antique. It's one of those old Hunter ones that have the oil pocket in the center that the whole thing spins on, kind of an oil bearing. And it's ancient, but it still works. And I went on YouTube, and it helped me very quickly figure out which line went to which post on the switch. So YouTube is just a fascinating place for learning how to DIY almost anything you can think of.
And then there's Garden Fork.
And Garden Fork. Well, Garden Fork's on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't really learn anything. You learn what goes wrong.
Well, I enjoy listening and reading about things that go wrong almost as much as I do about things that go right. Because what people have done wrong and how they fixed it is generally more important than people that do it right every time.
Yeah, embrace failure.
That's right.
All right. So I think people are at their destination. If you have any thoughts, it's radio@gardenfork.tv. I switched the site to a new server, so I think I've got that set up properly.
Okay. How's that going? I haven't checked it out yet.
It's kind of a pain. I could talk about it on the after show, but your WordPress sites have a lot of moving parts.
Don't they?
And it works, but all of a sudden the CNAME addresses and the name server addresses of my domain are run by another host, and so the short story is, if you're going to build a WordPress site, register your domain name with the same company that runs your server. It's much simpler.
Right.
Just make sure that you own the domain name. Sometimes they go, oh, free domain name, but you have to buy it back from them. I don't think that exists anymore, but that back in a while ago, that was happening to some people. So buy your domain name separate, but keep it on the same server company, and you'll eliminate a lot of the headaches I went through.
Yeah, I imagine so. Okay, well, I will try to be more regular now that I've got some regularity in my life.
Yeah, this Chrome thing seems to be, we're running on Chrome now, and that's so far so good. When we click the off button here, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it could be this would be the third one, and that failed. We'll find out here in just a moment. Okay, well,
all right.
I talk to you later, my friend. You have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Garden Fork Radio is produced in Brooklyn, New York by Garden Fork Media, LLC. Our music is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. Our producer is Jimmy Goots of hollowbooks.com.